Hey, welcome back to Shadow Shorts, where every weekday at noon Eastern, I bring to you another short conversation with an expert or a thought leader in the realm of innovation for the built environment. My name is Jeff Echols. I'm a senior advisor and the head of marketing for Shadow Partners. And today I actually have a return guest today. This is fun. Campbell Yule, who's the founder of Codesign. The first time we talked was in San Francisco at the American Institute of Architects National Conference. And back then it was spaces. There's been a redesign that's happened in between here in the few months since we talked the first time. But I'm excited to have Campbell back today. I really love what they're doing at Codesign, and I love the technology that we're going to talk about today. And we're gonna learn a little bit about startups in the design space. We're gonna learn a little bit about AI, about rebranding, and specifically AI and conceptual design. So, Campbell, welcome back. I'm glad that you're back here. It's going to be fun to have this conversation, and thanks for joining me.
That's great, Jeff. Yeah, it's good to be online again. And 3 months since we were in San Francisco. It feels like 3 years, to be
It
honest.
does.
We've piled a lot of work in. 3 months is a very long time in the life of a startup. And as you've alluded to, we were talking about spaces. We did have co-design under production, shall we say. It was a project that we'd kicked off earlier in the year. And even at the AIA, we did start putting a few feelers out and showing a few people what we were doing with that. And 2 months ago today, actually, we launched the Codesign brand into the marketplace. And that's been a very busy 2 months since that time. We sort of bookended the rebranding process about 3 weeks ago when we launched the rebranded app. So undertaking a full rebrand of the website, all of the messaging, all of the social media, and all of the app is something that's just a little bit of a challenge to land all on the same day. So we spread that out over 6 weeks, but we're really pleased to have Codesign, the app, in the marketplace. And for those who weren't aware of what Spaces was and what Codesign is the architectural concepting app. It's an app that we've designed for iPad and pencil. We want to bring back the sketchbook in a more digital format for design architects in general. Pull out your iPad and start sketching and have 3D models automatically created and be able to take advantage of what computers do well, which is number crunching. So we can pull a lot of data off the back of those models. So it's a specialist tool that we're producing. We like to say that we fit between pen and paper and the BIM systems that people will be familiar with, like Revit and ArchiCAD. Those systems are highly complex, have a lot of great functions for construction documentation, but when it comes to the freedom of design, they can be a little bit inhibiting. And so we've taken a strong focus with our app to unlock people, not having to think about all of the decisions, but just explore more, design more, just the iterative process, try out an option, throw it away, try something else, go down a different rabbit hole. If you end up having to come back out of it, it's not a problem. You've only spent 5-10 minutes on it. It's not in days, hours type investment of time. So we're really happy with Codesign, and getting the app out has been a huge piece of work for the team, but it's really set the foundation for what we want to do over the next 6 to 12 months with the product. And the first thing that we've been able to release in the last few days is an integrated AI tool into Codesign.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm a little bit jealous because it's, as you know, we were talking about this before we went live. Um, Both of our backgrounds go back to architecture. It's been a long time since I've drawn a line, so to speak. I haven't been in the design side for a long time. Um, and hearing you talk about bringing the sketchbook back, that's what makes me jealous, right? If I had these tools, would I still be designing? No, probably not, right? I'm off on a completely different tangent, but thinking back to when I was still working in firms, that to me is a big disconnect. Yeah, we can sit down and we can model something in Revit with a different, or as you said, ArchiCAD or any of the BIM systems, and we can start to model things out, but it is cumbersome. And having that freedom, brain to paper, essentially, as a digital tool today it makes me jealous, and I'm curious because to me now you've got that link from my brain to the iPad through the pencil that can be taken then even further, but you've integrated AI into it. So what, in that scenario, what's AI doing to help me as I design and as I make that transition from brain to iPad to whichever BIM tool I'm using?
Well, I guess that comes right back to the new name that we chose when we went through our recent rebranding, Codesign. Obviously, you can take it literally as a shrunk-up version of conceptual design or concept design. But what we really like about Codesign is the ability to communicate, contextualize, collaborate, all of those sort of co-words sort of that roll off the tongue, or maybe not so good at 6 o'clock in the evening. But the other side of it is that we see the designer as the central point of this, and so we provide our tool as a co-designer. It's not the lead designer. We still believe the architect is the lead designer, that humanity, that human experience, the client relationship is core, and so we've extended that with the AI integration that we've done, and the fact that it's allowed to help you. It's not going to take over the design for you. And we're only at the very start of our journey with AI, but the way it works is that if you've modeled up even a very simple massed form inside Codesign, you can then pull up our AI engine. Anyone who's familiar with these image or text to image type AI generators, you type in a prompt, so you can say that you want to design an office building like Frank Lloyd Wright, for example. You can give it a bit of context, a bit of environmental information. And then we take the image that you've produced in Codesign, and using AI, we come back with some more images, which they look like renderings. We don't want to position it as a rendering tool, because part of the nature of AI is it's kind of completely random. Every time you push go, you will get a different iteration. And from an actual architectural rendering point of view, you need a consistency of response. So the very start of our journey is more just a way of using a computer to take 10 or 20 seconds to give you some more ideas, to take your drawing further and provide some stimulation. So to be a co-partner in the process, to be a co-designer in the process. We've also extended it to our sketchbook. So, I mean, you were talking about sketching and how you would like to be able to do that. We still believe traditional methods are extremely efficient. And so we have a sketchbook inside Codesign where you can essentially take a photo of your model, and then you just have the freedom of sketching over the top of it. It's the traditional tracing paper paradigm that has happened for years on end. You just print out a few blocks and grab the tracing pen and the red marker and scribble over the top. Now, we've got that traditional method. Those sketches, my earphones getting a bit unstuck in this humidity, but we can take those sketches that you've drawn and we can even throw those to AI. So you can draw some very simple line drawings to describe an idea, a perspective drawing, and throw those to the AI and get some quite incredible results. Now, again, they're not there for marketing purposes or presentation purposes. It's an ideation tool. It's all about giving you some creative input, and as you refine the co-design model, then the AI will, you start turning the AI strength down, where it says basically, I want my model to be highly influenced, but I want a little bit of AI to just make it look a little bit sharper. Whereas at the start, you might have your AI strength relatively high, which is basically saying, I want the AI to actually give me some really big ideas. So, I mean, we see it as a lot of fun. It's kind of it's obviously a lot of hype in the market around AI. We like that it's completely integrated into the iPad. You don't need to take a snapshot, export it, upload it to a website, see what those are results like, work out how you store those results, etc. It's all about a single point that you can have that whole ideation process managed from. You need a cloud connection, obviously. We're using cloud computers in the background for AI, so it's part of the app that does require a connection. We like Codesign because it can work offline. You don't have to have 100% connection, but when you start taking advantage of AI and cloud-based services, obviously there's a requirement. But again, it's an iPad. You can be sitting down at the local Starbucks, having a play around, fire off some AI and get some results. And like I say, it's very early in the journey for us, but we wanted to get it out there, get our customers using it, giving us feedback. We've got some ideas as to which directions we want to take it, but we also like to get our customers to see how they're going to take advantage of these technologies.
Yeah, that's interesting, because last night, and we were talking about this earlier as well, but last night I was talking with my graduate students about, every business starts with a problem, right? There's always a problem that needs to be solved, and we get into this conversation about AI and AI tools, and I think this is a fantastic example, right? How can co-design, the AI and co-design help me iterate, right? That's something that and I know there'll be plenty of people that push back against this idea, but iteration is the name of the game, right? In the early stages of design, we're looking for the best design. What does it look like? Well, let me ask you this. Since we talked about this in class last night, we start with the idea of the problem that needs to be solved. What was the initial problem that needed to be solved? I mean, what's the thing that drives now co-design, as from a fundamental point of view?
I guess having been in the industry for coming on for 30 years now, like you, we studied architecture last century, and
You
having
didn't have to say it that way.
well, we're both in the same boat, so it's fine.
Yeah, we are.
But having sort of moved away from the pure architectural practice into the technology side for the last 30 years of my career, I've been working with BIM systems for a long time, and I guess through that process, I saw that the architecture firms, the designers, were still predominantly pen and paper, sketchbook based. As you alluded to right at the start, Revit and ArchiCAD, they're great tools, and they serve a very important part of the process with the construction documentation side of things. But you really need to have a design intention in mind before you start using them. And I guess just over the more recent decade, with the iPad coming along and the pencil as an input tool, I just saw it was a really great device to disconnect you from the desktop, release you from the mouse. Even a mouse is not easy to design with. It's not a sketching tool where you can just draw the same line a few times and things like you might do with a pen and paper or a piece of charcoal. And I talked to a number of my former customers from when I was the ArchiCAD distributor in New Zealand, and a lot of them just said, well, that's great, just make it easy enough for me to use. And that again encapsulates a part of it's not an issue around ArchiCAD and Revit, it's just the nature of those systems. They're highly complex. Mm-hmm. And even drawing an element in those systems requires half a dozen or a dozen decisions to be made. Some of them is not meaningless as layers and pen colors and stuff, but they're just sort of things that you're not really even wanting to think about. They slow down creativity. Right. And bringing it right back to a sketch line. And for those who have not used Codesign, it is as simple as drawing 4 strokes on the iPad screen, and as soon as those strokes form a closed shape, you've instantly got a 3D building. I haven't had to think about anything to do with what type of wall that is, what color it is, what level it is. There are some defaults, obviously, that drive the system, but it's just trying to take all of those decisions that really are developed design decisions and removing them from the conceptual process so that it can be fast and free and fluid.
Yeah. It seems to me that would absolutely appeal to a lot of architects, and yeah, maybe a lot of older architects that are not as much on the bleeding edge of technology. They'll find a lot of comfort in it, but as a process, this is interesting to me because in a way, what I have in my mind is you're sort of taking a step back to take a step forward, right? Sort of back to tradition to move forward, and now you've got AI as a part of it. What do you see, without asking you to reveal too much about what's coming in the future, but what do you see? Where do you see your tool and tools like yours that are incorporating AI and probably machine learning as well? What do you see the next step? Where do you see this going in the next year to 5 years?
Well, I think it was Bill Gates who said that everyone over assumes how much they can achieve in 2 years and under assumes how much they can achieve in 10 years. So if we were to push that timeline out to 10 years, then I would really see that the part of the process that is absolutely ripe for the AI side of things and still maintaining the designer as the core part of the process, is the drawing production part of the process. I don't know many architects who went through architecture school to say, I want to be an architect so that I can sit in front of a computer drawing 1 to 5 construction details 40 hours a week. It's just, it's not why you got into the business. You want to design. And so that's the part of the process. And there's tools coming along that are starting to automate those part of the processes. But machine learning, as you've alluded to, is a core part of that, because artificial intelligence is all based on information in. And how it then gets applied. So you have to start building up drawing standards and all those sort of things. And it can take a long time today for a firm to start taking account of some of these technologies. But even if we just look back 6 months ago, AI has just come along massively rapidly. I was watching a video yesterday from a New York university about AI and just talking about why is it so big now. And it's sort of 2 years ago, you needed a 10 or 5 or 10 computer scientists and $500,000 and some computers to really get into it. Now you need $20, and I mean, get on with it, jump online. I mean, to be honest, our very first prototype of AI, I wrote on the sofa one Sunday afternoon. It had just become so readily accessible that I was like, oh, I want to have some fun. Let's see what we can do with spaces, as it was at the time. And is this a good front end? And there's a lot of things happening there. So I see that there's a huge opportunity for AI. From a co-design point of view, we've got some grand plans with what we want to do. One of the next steps that we're working towards is tighter BIM integration. So we do acknowledge that those systems, ArchiCAD, Revit, Vectorworks, are critical parts of an architecture firm's workflow. And the better we can integrate with them, the stronger connection for using Codesign as a front-end design tool. The other aspect that we're focusing on quite a lot, aside from the downstream workflow, is the front workflow. I mean, we are a conceptual design tool. There's lots of decisions that get made at that part of the process that have a long-term impact on the quality of that building for its life. And obviously with sustainability and global warming and those sort of things, they're also very hot topics. We see a sort of a plethora of these analysis tools that all require some sort of building geometry. Now, by the time you've got a fully created BIM from whatever system, you're so far down the developed design path that getting it analyzed is kind of a bit of a risk, because you sort of go, oh, I don't really want to know if this works or not. It's a bit late. And the days of just adding more air conditioning to something because it's got too much solar gain are gone. You can't just do that these days. You've got to be far more sustainably minded. And so we're working with a few partners where we will use the model that we've got and use the analysis tools that they've got. And one of the ones that we're working on at the moment is an embedded carbon. Now, we're not going to tell you precisely the number of kilograms of embedded carbon per square meter of a building, but being able to get guidance at the early part of the design, being able to have conversations with your client to say, hey, look, here's... Screen went completely off at that stage.
There we go. You're back.
Well, being able to have a conversation with the client about, hey, look, we can do 3 or 4 low-rise buildings and we can build them out of timber, and this would be the carbon impact. Or if you want to, we can concentrate them as fewer, taller buildings, but then we have to start introducing concrete or steel, and that's the impact. So being able to have intelligent conversations right at the start, and Codesign allows you to do this before you're getting down the track into immense details that are very hard to back out from. Being able to show a customer of even a small university campus with a low-rise model or a high-rise model, and be able to have intelligent conversations about this is how it works and this is the carbon. Those are big things, and that's where we're concentrating. And again, it comes back to our name of Co-Design. There's a whole lot of inputs.
That is big. That's really big. We were talking about that last night, and I know we're pushing the limits of shadow shorts at this point, but I'm enjoying this conversation, so we're going to keep going a minute. We were talking about that last night in class, right? Where a lot of architects will encounter a project, depending on the client, et cetera, So many decisions have already been made for you, right? That impact that change or take away your ability to create any impact, right? All those decisions. But what you were just talking about, I think, is super important because you're gathering up and you're in. You said informed decisions. You're creating these informed decisions. I always think of it in terms of a timeline, left to right. You're moving all of that information, all of those informed decisions further left in the timeline, which is really, really important when it comes to making impact on the back end, the right end of the timeline. So that really excites me. I love what you're talking about there. If you want to know more about co-design, I'm going to throw the URL up on the screen right now. It's in the bottom left, getcodesign.co. Click on that or type that into your search window, your browser window, getcodesign.co. You can learn more about the product. You can find it in the App Store now, which I think is super cool. And I know that Campbell Yule is incredibly accessible. Find him on LinkedIn, and you can link to him through the website as well. Learn more about co-design and what they're working on, and um, the AI tools that they're integrating now as well. Um, Campbell, this is another one of those conversations that I'd say, hey, let's go for about an hour, but we'll wrap it up. I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate learning about the rebrand, the new app, and also the AI integration. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Always good to talk. And yeah, no, I mean, obviously we're moving along, so maybe I can be another return guest in 3 months' time and bring everyone up to speed with progress. So look forward to that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would absolutely enjoy that. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And I should also say, I haven't mentioned Shadow Summit for a while, but Shadow Summit's coming up in October in Atlanta, October 24th through 26th. Campbell, I think you're going to be there, right?
Yep, now I'm looking forward to coming across for that. So yeah, it'd be great to meet everyone who's arriving in Atlanta for those few days.
Yeah, absolutely. Meet us in Atlanta for Shadow Summit. You can find out more. There are a few tickets left now. I don't know what that number is. I don't have my finger on the pulse of that at the moment, at least not to and up to the minute. But shadowsummit.com, there is an apply button. It is a curated audience and a highly curated event. And we call it a summit because it's meant to be conversations that set the direction, set the things that AEC and CRE leaders are paying attention to in 2024. So check it out, shadowsummit.com. Go to Atlanta. You can meet Campbell. You can meet me, and we'll be happy to talk more about co-design and AI, machine learning, industrialized construction. I know is going to be a big topic. There's going to be a lot of good conversations there at the summit, and don't forget to go to Codesign, getcodesign.co, and learn more about Codesign, the product. So with that, thank you. Thanks, Campbell.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks to all of you in the audience. I'll be back again tomorrow, noon Eastern, with another Shadow Short. Until then, have a great day.